Hello and welcome back to Open Source Workplace. I'm very happy to welcome back Andrew Segal. Andrew, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Glad to hear, glad to hear. So another week in locked up for somebody who is an explorer such as yourself. How are you handling life?
Well, it turns out that I had the virus, so now I get to
Oh,
explore again.
oh my
I didn't
goodness.
realize it for well over a month after it was gone, and now I am arguably immune and free for a
That's
while.
well, I'm glad you're immune and free and you're feeling much better. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm a little taken back. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad you're feeling good. So what I
I'll
want to
tell
go
you,
with
if you
you.
want me to put on a mask, I'll do it, but I
That's
cannot
too
infect
funny.
anyone, nor can I be infected.
Got
So
it. No,
you're
no,
safe
no.
over there.
And I appreciate the humor, Andrew. I really do. But let's think about your exploring days. And one of the things you mentioned last week was the fact that you may not get to visit the places that you like to visit for a bit of time. And I was just curious as what are the places you like to visit? What would be your favorite place that you've visited to date?
So I love cities. I love India.
Mhm.
You know, foreign cultures. Sometimes the more likely candidates like Italy and the UK. But I will really go anywhere. I had one of my greatest trips last I guess it was about a year ago, was to Nigeria. I spent a week there looking at a conglomerate that was operating in a bunch of things, and just really really loved it.
Great, great, great. And whenever you're thinking about where you want to go to, have you somewhere in mind that you'd like to travel to first when you finally get out of and are released from this
Huh.
state?
Definitely India.
Okay, yeah,
That's a passion of mine.
great, 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 great. And then obviously last week we went through a whole bunch of things. You covered so many topics, and the one that sort of seems to have resonated with a lot of people is where you mentioned about the onboarding process and sort of how that is impacting obviously those who are being onboarded, but companies, but also it started a lot of conversations. And so I want to thank you for sharing. And obviously, as we go through these conversations, I want to try and extract more information and more of your thoughts from yourself. And before we were just talking about the Stemmons enterprise software, and obviously it's an enterprise software program and allows organizations to tie in their infrastructure into this. And obviously through AI, you're able to really help interpret data and present solutions and ideas and dashboard and visually show everything. And you put together a fantastic slide that actually shows what organizations were looking at in January and what they're looking at in April. And obviously as COVID-19 sort of spread through the country, you get to see that so the ideas of what people are actually looking at. In April 2020, the key things that people were looking at was business continuity protocols, remote workforce productivity trackers, communication, vendor audits, co-working operating cost reduction, and then cybersecurity. And really what I was kind of interested in sort of getting from you is sort of as we progress through these phases of basically returning to normality, what do you think most organizations from their software perspective will really be looking at and focusing at and be really trying to drive information from?
So I think from a systems point of view, they're going to have to structure what happens when there's a disruption. Is that you can't just put it together on the fly. Is you need a single button effectively that you push and go, here's the play, this is what everyone has to do, and this is how I'm going to track it to make sure that it gets done.
And I know you like to have everything in control yourself, and you have all this on your phone as you just track everything. And some of the videos you put together are so informative in the sense of how the technology actually works and sort of how the playbook really runs through. So how do organizations think about these things, implementing these things during these times?
So the good news is we could use the time to prepare for the next unexpected thing. And I think we need to realize that this is not something that gets sent around in an email a year ago. It's not something in a binder on your desk or a piece of paper that you pass out or a little notebook. None of those things are going to travel with anyone. is that you need a unified system that sends specific trackable tasks to people by role. It has to happen very quickly, and you have to know what you're going to do before the thing happens.
And obviously, getting these things set up actually requires so much internal structure, data cleansing, and so on and so forth, which is probably one of the biggest challenges that people don't really look at or take into consideration when they're evaluating rolling out this type of software. So perhaps this is the type of time when organizations can start looking at those sort of things.
Yeah, so I mean, there are some warning signals. If you find yourself having to walk over to someone to talk to them to get something done, you know that maybe you need a little bit more systems. If you're doing things by email and Slack and text, maybe you need a more structured system. If you're having trouble finding information that you can't find access on your phone or your computer, maybe you need a more structured system.
Got it. Got it. And then obviously we're sort of thinking through opportunities for organizations to utilize some of this software. Whenever you think about, what you've put in plan for, because whenever we first met, the first thing that was so apparent to me was how camera relaxed you were with everything that was going on because you had all those plans and processes in place. How do organizations sort of put together their BCP plans to allow them to do those things, and how have those things shifted perhaps as we had probably BCP plans for the office environment, but actually today a lot of the organizations are going to be remotely operated, and does that change some of their BCP plans, you think, going forward?
Uh, Absolutely. It's a dynamic process. And the things that we did a year ago aren't necessarily not the things that we want to do today. So we need a dynamic process, but we can't retrain everyone when we make a change. So we have to be able to effectively, if you think about like updating the software on your phone, you don't then go to school, send everyone to class to learn how to use the new software. It has to be intuitive. It has to solve a lot of the problems in the background for you.
For you yourself, as you think about your business, how's your business model shifting whenever you think about that, people may work from home? We spoke about last week how you foresee the real estate dynamics changing, people moving from, city to suburbia. Does that change your mindset? And as you think about what you're planning to do with your organization and how you think about those things?
Yes, so I think that one of the things that this experience accentuated for us is that the people who work in the companies have to be dynamic. You have to be able to go from manager to debt collector. You have to go from maintenance person to helping out with leasing. The days of specialty where you could just transport people around the city and around the country ended very quickly. And what that means to us is that it has to be a unified system. So for example, if I have an Uber driver who is using the Uber system to deliver a person from one place to another, it's very easy for me to make him agile or her agile and shift them to deliver food from one place to another.
Great, great. No, thank you. And sort of as we wrap up, is there any last thoughts you wanna leave with the community before we finish up?
Well, I think that there is when we think about the virus on a personal basis, it turned out that fitness and being prepared physically and lung capacity, a lot of things that we don't really need to use. Most of us are not professional athletes. I know you find that hard to believe from looking at me, but the exercises that we did turned out to be very, very important. And as a someone who went through the coronavirus, with general ease, I can tell you I was happy that I prepared. A business is also going through the coronavirus, so we need to prepare. We need to start preparing for the next disruption right now, and it has to be permanent and it has to be systematic. Is that the days of memos and binders, are long gone, because we're not even going to be where they are, most likely. You may not know the last time you're going to be in your office the next time one of these hits.
No, that's great sentiment, and I love the connection between the organization, the individuals going through the COVID, but so is business. And you know, we have an opportunity right now to really address some of those business processes, some of those business strategies, and I just hope that most organizations out there do take that opportunity and do make changes that are for the better for them. So, Andrew, look, thank you once again. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.